Hi, it's Hayley again from Craft Yourself Silly, and we're going to have a look at one of the projects from our Fabazine 7, and it's this fantastic fabric necklace. So let me take it off and show you how it's made. So quickly whip this off. There you go. Oh dear, stuck in the hair. Never mind. So the way it's made is one big long tube of fabric, and then what we've done is we've tied knots into it. We've got paper balls in here, which gives it its shape, and then we've tied knots to separate them off and create the kind of beaded effect on there. So let me head to the sewing machine and let's show you how it's done. Let's make a start on the necklace project, and in the Fabazine you will get this really long straight piece of fabric, so it's hugely long. It seems absolutely ginormous, but once you start kind of tying the knots in, you'll see that it shrinks down quite quickly. You're going to get 13 of these little paper beads, which are going to be going inside the necklace to make sure it's not too heavy, and then lastly you're going to be getting a button and a piece of waxed cord to create your closure for your necklace as well. So let's make a start. So the first thing we need to do is take this great big long strip and just fold it in half like that. So you're going to fold it in half all the way down, and now I personally wouldn't press this, because if you press it before you do it, then when you come to actually finish your necklace, you'll end up with a big crease down the front of it, and we don't really want that. So I would just plenty of clips and or pins, and just carefully as you go, pop that line those edges up all the way down. And I'm going to take this straight over to the machine because I'm going to show you a really good trick for doing long pieces like this, where you're going to need to turn them inside out. So I've got my fabric on the machine, and I've left about a 3/8 inch seam allowance on this. I've just left a little bit. You can do it as a quarter if you wish, but you may need slightly larger pieces of beads or bits and pieces in there. Or buttons is a really nice option to put in here as well, if you are going to do kind of something slightly bigger. But I've left 3/8. One, because we're going to do quite a lot of manipulation on this fabric. We're going to be turning it right side out, and that little bit extra just helps keep everything secure. So I'm going to go forward and back just on that edge and make sure that that's nice and secure. And then once I've got that, I'm going to come down and probably about 4 inches should do us. So I'm just allowing that to sew its way through, and yeah, I'm happy with that. And then we're going to do a couple of back stitches again. The next thing we're going to do is actually take this off. It seems mad to just sew that little bit and take it off, but we'll take this off and I'll show you the trick we're going to use to make turning out much easier. So I'm back from the sewing machine, and I've got just this little bit here that we've sewn to start us off. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn that bit right side out. So we are going to push that all the way through. Actually, I want to come from this way, because what I'm trying to do is get this initial bit turned through. So what's going to do is going to allow us to kind of turn it through as we go, and then we don't have that really awkward bit of trying to get the whole thing turned through in one shot. Now you're going to need, as I said, about 4 inches. Sometimes it's worth doing just a tiny bit more, just so you can get everything in the right position. So we've turned that through, and we're going to make sure that is all the way out. There you go. And what I'm going to do is turn that back through just enough so that when I get to the sewing machine, I can pick back up at that point where I left off. I'm keeping that bit that was turned right side out scrunched all the way over to the back edge of there, and then we're going to continue to sew down. We're going to sew down about 3 inches at a time and then pull it through as we go. So let's head back over to the sewing machine. So I'm going to line this back up, and you can see that's where my bit is pushed inside the middle. Let me just open this up, show you. There you go. So that's pushed right to this far kind of back folded edge here. And I'm going to pop that back under my machine and take it. I might need to just pull a tiny little bit more through there. There we go. Just give me a bit more of kind of flat area to start off on here. So we're going to pop that in position. And if you're worried about it, just go back and reverse a couple of stitches to make sure you're not going to end up with a little gap there. And then we are going to go and stitch the whole thing. But we're going to... now did you just see there I was slightly off, so I just need to move that back across just a touch. That's it. I was a little bit to the right of where I needed to be, so I'm happy with that position now. And then I'm going to sew all of the way down, but I'm going to keep stopping, so 2 or 3 inches. Now it's really when I feel that I'm losing that edge that I've already pulled through, and I want to just tip that back so I can grab it, pull it through as we go, and then do the next section. And you want to do these small sections at a time and just keep going at it. So there's our next bit, so another 2 or 3 inches there, and then again we're going to stop, open it up and pull it on through. And you're going to continue doing this all of the way down. Don't pull it too far because you don't want to kind of scrunch everything up too much at the back there. Make sure you've got that tucked in right away from those edges, and then start sewing again. And you're just going to continue doing this all the way down until you've completed the whole piece for the necklace. And then what we're going to do is I'll continue with this, I'll get it finished off, and I'll come back to you when we've got the whole piece turned right side out and we're ready to add those beads. So I'm back from the sewing machine, and I've done that one big long kind of tube of fabric there. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to start using the little beads, and the first thing we need to do is find the center. So that's our middle point. It's worth marking that with a pin or something just for the minute while we'll get these in. And take one of the beads, open up the tube that you've created, and then just slide that bead all the way down until we get it into the center. Let's straighten that back out a little bit. There you go. So if you make this too tight, what you'll find is you'll struggle to get your beads in. So it's worth having a little bit of wiggle room in it. So just lining that up, and that's about my center point there. So what I need to do now is tie a knot. So I need to tie a knot in this side. And this first knot, it's not too important where you place it. It's just important to get it in. And then the next knot, which will be on the other side of this, that's the one that's quite important because you need to keep this nice and tight. So let's pop that on into there. And it does help if you want smaller knots to kind of fold the fabric up a little bit first, so you get a nice kind of really tight knot in there. And we're going to just work that a bit tighter and a bit tighter, and so it's right up against the bead that we've just put in there. Just slowly, 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 and then you can give them a really good tug so that they stay really nice and tight. And the tighter and smaller you can get the knots at this point, the better. And then we're just going to repeat that process again and again and again, adding beads, then a knot, then another bead, then another knot. So all the way up. You've got 13 beads, so you should have one in the center there, and then 12 up either side. Now if I just grab a button or two, you can actually, if you've got some buttons, let me just grab a jar of miscellaneous buttons. So if you have got buttons and things, you can add these into the mix as well. All you've got to make sure is that the button is wide enough. I'll probably even go bigger, probably even go for that one. Is big enough to slide down that tube. And what that will do is when you tie those in, it will give you a kind of a flatter texture to it as well. So you can really have a play with what you add into this. And from here, all you're going to do is work 12 up this side, 12 up the other side, until you get right to the top. So let me go and grab the one that's nearly finished, and we'll have a look at putting that button and clasp on. So this one's nearly there. All of the beads are in there, and we're just looking at finishing these off. So for one side, you're going to add a loop, and on the other side, you're going to add the button. Both of these are provided. What you need to do is stitch them on when the fabric is flat, and then you see on this one here, both those corners get folded in, and then they get folded in one more time, and you put one more just tacking stitch in there just to hold that nice and flat, and that's what will finish off your end. You do the same on this side. See, this one's already been tacked together, and then the loop goes over your button, and obviously that creates the clasp for your necklace.